Hello everyone, and I want to talk about the difference between this and this, which, if you don't know, this is Airsoft. None of this is real. These are all replicas. This is a bunch of Call of Duties, Far Cries, and Battlefields, Ghost Recons. And the reason why the two are ultimately synonymous. Now, I know what you're wondering. Yes, those are cat toys, a box of them, or a basket. All of these are just your standard FPS, first-person shooter video games. I'm sure whoever's watching this right now, you're all aware of, the concept of these. Some that you wouldn't find here are maybe Counter-Strike or your PC-based. Valorant, I know, is on console, but all of it is the same. They all have some kind of multiplayer game mode where you play as a character, a hero, military guy, whatever, and you go around trying to beat other players. Now, people like to take it seriously, which you would call milsim, and other people would take it more lighthearted as just a good time, a way to enjoy yourself. And that's really cool. And I really enjoy video games. I collect them, and this is just a handful, more than a handful, of ones that I picked out for this video that I think best represent a lot of concepts that Airsoft gets to the point with. And now we're going to flip over to the other side so I can explain some Airsoft. All right, now we're on the left side, you are right. And we're going to be talking about Airsoft. And then we're going to talk about the two together, video games and Airsoft. Now, as you can see, like I said, this takes a CO2. There's no actual ammunition in this. This is not a real firearm. This is a replica, but it represents 100% the functionality and the actions of a real firearm, which is really fun for that milsim realism aspect. Then you have things like this right here, which you might know as a Tech 9. It is an electric powered airsoft gun. So a battery will go in here, and there's a wire, it connects, you charge the battery, connect it, then you close it up, and then it's good to go. It has less functionality than a gas blowback version of an Airsoft replica, but this still gets the job done. It's a lot easier to maintain and a lot easier to get going and running. So when we're talking about things like Airsoft guns, the milsim factor is the realism factor. So when you get into your tactical things like Tarkov's Arena Breakout Infinite and your extraction shooters with hyper realism, I think those are really fun, but they are to the extreme. And I know people still competitively play them, but the reason why you're playing them is for the extreme realism factor. And there still is a fun factor, just like Airsoft. Not every video game can be hyper realistic. If it was true, then most people in those video games, most of your player characters would be dropped in about 1 or 2 shots, and that would be it. Helmets, body armor, yes, they do have protection, but at the end of the day, you're not really getting around the fact that it's, a video game, and there is going to be a fun form factor. So let's go back to another position and talk about the similarities of Airsoft and these video games. Thanks for joining me back on the floor. Again, we're just here to talk about the similarities and why, if you play video games, you should probably try Airsoft, or vice versa, which I'm pretty sure any Airsofter is playing video games. So let's go with Airsoft first. Again, these are not loaded, these are not primed, these are not ready to fire. I'm not going to shoot an animal, I'm not going to hurt anything. I've got my kitty Mink right here. His name is Mink. But this is an Airsoft gas blowback replica. So when you fire, first we'll start from the beginning. You put CO2 and then BBs down this line right here. You will put them down, you can see them. They are represented here. You can see white BBs because you usually use white. And then CO2 goes in here, you screw it in, you pop it in, now it's loaded. Then you have to rack it. So there you go, see it's empty, just depressing the hammer because I don't want it up, down. And it functions, and when it fires, it will cycle. And it will keep cycling until empty, just like a real firearm. Then you would reload the mag, release the slide, and it's good to go again. Then you have AEG. which is automatic electric. This, I would say, gets you into that Call of Duty realm. This is a sledgehammer or AA-12 shotgun replica. And the point of an AAG is that it takes a battery. So you can charge a battery or multiple, bring them with you to a game, wherever you do it, indoor, outdoor, large events, put them in a backpack, and you have multiple batteries. And the magazines usually take a lot of BBs. There's high cap, mid cap, and low cap, if you will. But low cap is the same as mid cap. You just load less BBs into the magazine. So you can have thousands of BBs ready to go in a single magazine. Most magazines like this, if it's a high cap, it'll take about 300, 400, 500. And then you just have a little winding mechanism at the bottom. It's like a little winding wheel, and it will keep feeding BBs in as you wind it. So then you're getting into like that Call of Duty aspect, if you will. You have faster firing, more effective, more playability as opposed to functionality. So it functions a lot faster and less like a real firearm. And now let's take it over here to the video games. Now that I've explained some of the airsoft. In video games, when it comes to the firearms, you've got your realism. You've got your accurate reloads. You've got your functionality of the firearm, fire rate, usability, mobility, ergonomics, and all the attachments. So you can start with something really simple, but then by the end, you're gonna have, something like this over here. This HK417 replica. You start off with just a rifle and a magazine at the start, and then by the end, you're gonna have your foregrip of choice, maybe bipod, laser optics. This is a dual optic, so you've got your red dot and your scope there. And you can change the stock, change the barrel length, all that crap, right? So this is pretty much like what everyone's end game looks like in every game that's a first-person shooter these days, because they want to have all the attachments and the customizability. It gives you freedom. In airsoft, this stuff doesn't really matter. A lot of it is just cosmetic, but that's what a lot of Call of Duty is for a lot of people. Or other video games, they like to build exact replicas or designs of real-world firearms or real-world counterparts like in movies or in history, and that's really cool. So you can really get in the weeds on how you like to set up your gear. And the internals and the springs and the actual fire mechanism, you have things like MOSFETs where you can adjust, how fast the fire rate is, and how many rounds it fires. You can set it up to 6-round burst if you want. You can make some really goofy stuff, just like, say, Call of Duty or Battlefield. There's a lot of customizability in video games, but in Airsoft, you have just as much customizability, but it's more personal to you because you're actually going to play with this in an Airsoft match, field. There are, quote unquote, tournaments, professional levels of Airsoft. I don't get into that. I'd love to one day, but that's not my bag. But then you also have this. You have casual players, you have pro players, ranked leagues, same thing. So that's another one-for-one comparison for you. And when it comes to different types of video games, say you've got your World War IIs, you've got your modern, your futuristic. There's an airsoft replica for everybody. If you want your Thompson or BAR, Car 98, you can get that. And I have a shell ejecting Car 98, which after each BB is fired, you put a BB in a shell and it will eject when you cycle the bolt. So you can get very realistic, you can get less realistic, you can get futuristic, you can get, Cold War era, World War II, World War I. You can get really goofy with it and live out your own little, fun time, just replica fantasy, if you will. And it's just for fun. People do take it seriously, which is sad. If you're in a competition, and there's you actually playing, say a pro Counter-Strike $600,000 tournament equivalent of Airsoft, which I hope there is one day, then yeah, people can take it seriously because it's a sport at that point. There's something on the line. If you're out in the field and you're having fun, I don't care if the guy I'm going against has an MP40 and I'm going up with, again, a sledgehammer AA-12. It's all for fun. You get to pick what you want to do. It's kind of like, where's it at? Battlefield Portal. After when Battlefield 2042 came out, Battlefield Portal came out. And you could literally be a modern, GWAT era soldier fighting a Nazi. the craziest thing. Sorry, I'll say German soldier. I'm gonna have to bleep out Nazi, but it's really cool. And I think that's another great comparison, is that you can do whatever you want, customize however you want, wear what you want. If you want to go out in hoodie and jeans, that's perfect. That's exactly what you should wear. Obviously wear protection, but if you want to, mil sim it up, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, what's like people that play like Tarkov and stuff? It's like, how many people are PMCs in real life? How many people have done private military contracting? Guess what? It's not that fun in real life. A lot of times you're standing around hoping you don't get shot. Meanwhile, in a video game, you're running around like, John Wick, Billy Badass, and it's fun. So what's wrong with doing that with Airsoft? And there's a few more positives that I would say Airsoft has. You get to stay fit and active. When you're running around, you're active, you're carrying around a ton of gear, or if you're doing milsim, or if you just like to have a bunch of mags and you like the accessibility of a plate carrier, you could even put real plates in your plate carrier. It's not needed, it's totally unnecessary, but it's a great way to lose weight and burn some fat, I promise you that. I am a very skinny person, and I can vouch for that. The rifles, they're either lightweight or heavy, you get that feeling of, I'm gonna make a mobility kind of setup for my kit, my rig, and that's what I wanna go for. I wanna go for run and gun, fast and moving. Or you can go for, DMR, or you can go for a heavy weapons guy, or an assault. Very Battlefield when you really think about it. So yeah, I just want to talk about all this because I feel like it's something that nobody really has compared yet. I'm sure there's people like, it's just like video games, which people will say in passing, but actually thinking about, what Airsoft is compared to a video game, I don't think it's really talked about. And yes, I know video games, you can make the argument of, yeah, but it's just a video game. It's just for fun. Nobody takes it seriously. I'm like, there's people that I literally see people crash out. We all do. Streamers crash out over video games all the time. Even when there's not money on the line. They freak out when they get dropped in Tarkov. There's whole compilations of it. So, just like there's like cringe Airsoft stuff, there's cringe video game stuff. But at the end of the day, I think if you like video games, give Airsoft a try.